Let's talk a little bit about Hebrew. What have you learned about the Hebrew language? What have you learned about the Hebrew languages? What does the Hebrew emphasize compared to the Greek and the English?
It's more specific and explains a little more detail.
What's the great, Sharon, what's the greatest thing about the Hebrew language?
It shows a lot of action.
Action and force. Action and force. And guess what? This is the origin, this is the first book in the Bible. This is the origin of all things and how God dramatically and powerfully created everything. How many tenses are there in Hebrew? You remember? How many tenses? Let's look at that for just a moment. If you want to get the book for Hebrew grammar, there's Kyle M. Yates, The Essentials of Biblical Hebrew. And how many tenses are there in Hebrew? How many verb forms and tenses? You remember that, Marilyn? Remember that? How many tenses are there in Hebrew? How many verb stems? Sure.
Isn't it 8?
No? 8. No, there's 8 cases. 8 cases in Greek. All right. How many verb tenses? You remember, Brother Ray? What's the number of perfection? 7. Thank you, Brother Vincent. You got it right. The number of perfection is how many verb tenses there are. There is call stem. There is nifal stem, pl, hual, hithael, hifil, and hophel. And every one of those has something very important in it. Every one of these. Because, and the translators have done violence to the Scriptures. Do you know that? They've done violence to the Scriptures because they have intentionally interpreted the Bible and not translated the Bible. They've interpreted it and not translated it. And these tenses are the actual, this is the touchstone. This is the beginning of all knowledge of the Hebrew language, right there. Okay, the verb stems and the tenses. These are very important. Most of the world, the religious world today, believes that God created the world in a chaos. Do you know that? Does God create anything in chaos? Does God create anything imperfect? It does violence to the person of God when you say that He created something that wasn't perfect. He didn't create a blob and then out of the blob He formed something. He creates perfection. And then all things, the law of what they call aerodynamics, where everything goes backwards. It goes from good to bad, from powerful to worse. It loses its power. That's what we're studying in the Bible. You're going to see a lot of secrets in the Hebrew language that you don't see in the translations. I try to translate the Bible, not interpret it. That's different. Translate the Bible, not interpret it. And we talked about it. We talked about the love of God last week and light. Light. We also, Sunday morning, we talked and we said that God does not love everybody. This is totally contrary to what many people say, isn't it? For God so loved the world. It doesn't say God so loved every man. Jesus Christ died for every man. We know that the atonement is what we call universal, but it's only efficacious to those that believe, and everybody else goes where? File 13. Out of God's sights. God doesn't want to see sin. He doesn't want that. He doesn't like it. And we are haters of God according to the first chapter of the book of Ephesians. And we, in our natural state, we go the course of this world, don't we? We go the course of the world. Now let's go back and let's look at Genesis, Bereshith 1:1. Bereshith means what?
Beginning.
What does it literally mean?
Created.
All right. It's got something on the front of that. Something on the front of that. it's got this on the front of that bottom sheet. And that's a Greek preposition, and that Greek preposition is just like the Hebrew the Hebrew preposition is just like that Greek preposition there, and the English preposition that came from that one. Beis means in. Okay, now we got plural.
Right.
Okay, in beginnings. So we have to say in one of the beginnings, God had created the heavens and the earth. Okay?
Amen.
He had created. And that is in what tense? That's in the perfect tense. He had created.
Now you say in beginnings, meaning that there's more than one beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so where's the other beginnings?
Okay, one of the beginnings, it's God was there alone, John 1 and 1. Okay?
Before he created the world?
Before he created anything, John 1 and 1. That's the oldest verse in the Bible. That's the first beginning. That is the beginning, in RK, ein ho logos. Okay? In beginning, singular. Okay? That one here is in beginning right here, but over here in John, it says NRK. That's locative, singular, feminine. It's singular. So what beginning is that? Huh? What beginning is that? That's the first beginning. That's when nothing else existed but God.
Now, John 1 and 1 says, in the beginning, no wait, in the beginning was the Word.
NRK, ein ho logos.
Okay, that is before...
Anything was created.
Okay,
But
and
for
so that's
God.
the first beginning.
That's the first beginning.
The second one is in Genesis 1 and 1.
No.
Okay, where's the second?
Okay, the second one, before he ever created anything material, what else did he create?
Angels.
Angels. and
So where
spirits.
do we go to prove that in the Scriptures?
The angels. Job, the first chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Job, the first chapter. And Genesis, the sixth chapter.
So that's the second beginning. when
Okay,
he created
that's
the
another beginning. I think it's probably the second beginning. Also, there is a beginning when God laid out the blueprints. Remember that?
Right.
Before he created anything here, that was the beginning where he laid the blueprints. Was anything created when he laid the blueprints?
No.
No.
No, just
So
like
we,
a house.
so we have God, and then we have blueprints, and then we have what? The
Well,
beginning of the creation was what? Angels and spirits, and then material matter.
Right.
Now, spirits don't have, they're not clothed, are they? This is a good question. That's a good question.
Because in my mind, when you say beginnings, the first thing I think of that the Lord had created this earth and ran this whole course that it's done. He's done this several times, almost like a repetition of this world, dying on the cross.
No.
So that's
No.
the first thing I think of when I hear beginning. So I knew there was kind of more to it
Oh, yes.
than just that.
So many people believe that, too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
many people believe that there's more earth, that God has died in all these different places, become
Multiple
places,
universes.
multiple universes
Yeah.
and all that. It doesn't say that, does it?
Right.
Nowhere. It doesn't say that at all. It doesn't even give us an inkling that that's happened. Okay, now, this is good, in beginnings. All right? So we have a beginning, NRK, ein ho logos, kai ho logos, proston theon, kai ho logos, ein theos. In beginning, singular, kept on being Jehovah, the Jehovah. Okay, ho logos, the Jehovah. That happened for, how long was that? How long did God exist by himself? I mean, this just blows eternity past. That's how long.
Right.
Yeah, for a long time. Billions, trillions, quadrillions. We don't even know. Before time, yes. We live in a marked off piece of eternity. Look at this. This is eternity. This is, we can make it even smaller than that. Very small. This is when God created and reconstructed the earth in Genesis 1. There's where time begins. this side, that's where time begins. Okay? That's when time begins, because God starts saying day, 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 day. Now, in eternity past, God created the heavens and the earth, didn't He? That's still in eternity. We're not in time. Now, in eternity past, in one of the beginnings, we have God, we have blueprints, then we have spirits, and we have angels. Angels are clothed, aren't they? So angels have, that's matter. We have matter. Now, in all reality, even spirits are matter. E equals mass times the speed of light squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. How much power is in one atom? Dr. J. Lewis Guthrie taught at the seminary in Little Rock. He was one of the founding teachers there. He taught Greek and Hebrew. He was a scholar in the languages, and he was a scientist. He was a physicist. This was way back before World War II. When did we discover the atomic bomb? It ended World War II, didn't it? Right. Atomic energy. J. Lewis Guthrie was talking about fusion, atomic fusion, in the 1920s. And energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, and all of this. The word atoma. Atoma. He talked about atoma. Atoma. Atoma is where we get the word atom from. Atom. Not atom, but atom. Now, what does atoma mean? Sharon, you know what atoma means?
Well, an atom is the smallest part.
But what do you do when you split the atom?
Well, then you can
Huh? What do you call it? You have nuclear fusion when you split the atom. Now, what does atom mean? Dr. Guthrie say, atoma. Don't split. It's not able. You split it and you got problems. Okay? Do you see this? You split it, you got problems. You got atomic fusion, and you've got power when you take this smallest part. When you divide the smallest little thing, particle in the universe, you have a tremendous amount of power, which represents the God that created it.
The energy.
God is energy. Tremendous amount of energy. God is energy.
I've always understood verse 1 in my mind is back in eternity.
Yeah,
when He created it in a perfect state.
Yes, He did. Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Everything He created was in a perfect state.
Right.
All the spirits that He created were perfect spirits, weren't they? They all worked with Him. They all were created because He had a purpose for them.
And every element and everything that is involved in this creation was in a perfect state.
That's in a perfect state. Even Lucifer was in a perfect state.
Right.
You know, he was a light carrier of the whole universe at that time. So we have in one of the beginnings, we have God only. John 1:1, the oldest verse in the Bible as far as time is concerned. Actually, before time. Eternity past. And then we have angels and spirits that were created in another period. Barashith can mean in beginnings also. And Hashemayim can mean the universe. Okay? So we have God existing alone. For how long? We do not know. He always was, wasn't he? I always said, where's God come from? That's something, you ever hear people, anybody ever not hear that? Where'd God come from? He's always been there. We can't fathom that because we're created beings. God knew us in eternity past before we became. When did you become? When your father's sperm and your mother's ovum came together. That's when your life began. That's when life begins. Okay, that's when that begins. But God knew you before that happened. That's what you call omniscience. Now, God knew all what would happen with these angels, but He put it out so in such a way that He knew that the universe was going to go astray. But He allowed it. This is what we call His permissive will. Okay? He allowed that to happen. But He, in eternity future, everything that went astray will be brought back by the merits of Jesus Christ, which is God's Son. Not an angel, not you, not anybody. That Arminianism is absolute heresy. Works for salvation. That's heresy, people. That's contrary to the nature of God. Here we have eternity, and we have a little marked off piece of time that we see here to here. See that? From there to there. And we have, and that's where we are in the book of Genesis now. We're studying where this little piece of eternity, or time begins. We're studying where time begins. Angels were created. And then the earth was created. Genesis 1:1. God, He had created the heaven and the earth, and the earth she had become formless and void. The earth had become formless and void. What happened? Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, we've discussed that before. So you see these beginnings now? This is important because this will answer people's questions. You can lead an atheist to the Lord when you go this route. You'll have answers that he didn't think you could have. An agnostic. They say they don't know, and no one else can know either. Well, we can show them that. We do know. You can go from the scientific field we just touched tonight, just slightly. J. Lewis Guthrie talked about atomic fusion and dividing of the atom, that something was going to go wrong when they divided the atom because it wasn't. It's when you do that, there's destruction. Angels have a lot of power, don't they?
I've been going through the J. Lewis Guthrie creation.
Yeah.
I've had that for years.
Christ in creation, yeah. And the creation of the heavens and the earth. That's the one you can only get on the website, I think. Well, you might have that. I might have made a copy of it for that.
What?
The creation of the heavens and the earth. It's on the website.
Yeah, I think I have that.
Yeah.
I've had that for
Yeah,
years.
that one there was J. Lewis Guthrie's own notes that L.D. Foreman made the Bible in 8 Ages from.
Look at that. That's kind of
The Bible in 8 Ages was J. Lewis Guthrie's doctor theses that he made from Dr. J. Lewis Guthrie's classes on Christ and creation and the creation of the heavens and the earth.
I remember studying the word bara.
Yeah, bara.
Shasar or something like that.
Yeah.
And those are the Hebrew names. I remember reading those
Yeah.
things.
It's beautiful. You can study that book for the rest of your life, and you will learn something new every month.
I just go one page and I'm already lost. But we've been through that.
Man was talking about, he was talking about this fusion, this power. Hebrew language is what? What does it emphasize? The power and the action of God. Okay? Let's go back here to Genesis 1 and 4. Wayar Elohim et haor ki to wayar wayardel Elohim Bain Heor Yuvain Hachoshek. Now we're introduced to light and darkness. Light and dark. Every time it gets dark, we need to remember the sin of the universe and how we're involved with it. Every time it gets dark, darkness. Look at this. And he saw Elohim. Elohim means what? The Creator, but the whole triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then we have the sign of the direct object here. Et. Haor. The light. The light. Indians used to go out every morning, especially the preachers. They were called the medicine men or preachers, what they were. You know that one of the most famous warriors in history was not a warrior. And I'm related to him, Man Afraid of His Horse. I'm not Man Afraid of His Horse, but Crazy Horse. He was a Brule, Lakota. And that's where my father was Brule, Lakota. He was a preacher. He only fought when he had to. He would just give his life for the tribe. That's all he lived for the tribe. All his life. He lived for the tribe. One time he made a bad mistake in his life. He fell in love with this girl, and her father promised her to him. He promised her to him. And they were going along just fine. But then this other guy comes up in this other tribe, and he wants that girl because she's really pretty. So his father changes his mind, and he promises and sells the girl to another man after he's already promised it to Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse was in love with her. He loved this girl. He loved the tribe more than he did anything else in his life. He gave away everything he had so many times and would be born again, he said. Born again. That's when the Indian gives everything he's got away and takes his breechcloth off and throws it away, and he's totally naked. He has nothing in this world, and he's going to be born again. It's an old term. We talk about it in the Bible, but they were talking about it also because evidently it must go way back yonder, this term. He gave everything away and they say, Lord, guide me, whatever you want to do. And he'd done this many times, and he was a shirt man. A shirt man. You know what a shirt man is? You ever heard of a shirt man? A shirt man, now, white men have found shirts with hair on them all over the sleeves and everything else, and they call these scalp shirts. These were not scalp shirts. They were not scalp shirts. This isn't how many people he killed. The shirt man was somebody that was so valuable to the tribe that the tribe looked upon him as one of the leaders, the natural leaders, and a natural giver. He had to keep everybody. The tribe had to be more important than he did. Now, Crazy Horse was a shirt man. And a shirt man could wear the shirt, and he could go between tribes, even enemy tribes, and they wouldn't touch him. The pipe carrier and the shirt man could walk between. He was like neutral ground, because he was so great. He was neutral ground. You couldn't touch him. You touched him, and you were touching something that God loved and God made special. This is a special man. He's special. Well, Crazy Horse was a shirt man. And every woman in the tribe would bead, and they would put porcupine quill embroidery on his shirt and just make it something special. If you've seen, I have a shirt like that, but it doesn't have the hair on it all over. But every woman, when she got through doing that, she would take a lock of her hair and tie it on that shirt permanently. So when he wore that shirt, he represented every family in the tribe, because the blood was through the mother, not the father. You didn't trace the lineage to the father. You traced it to the mother. So every woman in the tribe gave her sweat and blood with that. They would take every porcupine quill, they would sort them out for size, they would dye them, and then they'd put them in their mouth. And you used to hear about the Indians chewing the leather. They weren't chewing leather, they were chewing porcupine quills soft. You take a porcupine quill and you put it in your mouth, and you very slowly, with saliva, you slowly wet it until you can smash it down with your teeth, and you make it very flat. And then while it's still wet, you sew it and weave it into the leather. And you tie it down with sinew. That's the way those shirts were made, with that and handmade beads. Well, Crazy Horse would lead the tribe whenever they moved from camp to camp. The fire carrier, the pipe carrier, and the shirt man would lead the tribe when they went from camp to camp, because these were the best. Crazy Horse, when that man did him like he did, he went and got his promised wife, and he took her, and he married her. They became one. And boy, everybody got mad, Because one time in his life, he thought of himself more than he did the tribe. One time. And so they demanded the shirt back. He lost his shirt. That's where the term came from. Crazy Horse lost his shirt. He lost his shirt. He lost that honor.
Because he took a wife.
Because he took the wife against her father's will, even though her father was a traitor to him. This was wrong. The man did wrong. Crazy Horse was right, but he did not. And he loved her, and she loved him. She didn't want to be married to the other man. But she was the property of her father. And she took so many horses, and Crazy Horse would have given him every horse in the world. Well, he took her, and then that husband of hers came into Crazy Horse. He was with her. He took off, and he went away with her. And he came in there, and he shot him. And on his face was a powder burn where he shot him, and he had hit him. Of course, there was no vengeance taken, no blood vengeance or anything, because he shot him. Because Crazy Horse was out of line. Even though he was right, he was out of line. But he lost his shirt. He lost the honor, but they later gave it back to him. Because he was so great. He married another woman later that was the girl's best friend and everything. And then he had one little girl. And that little girl died. His wife died, and the little girl died.
What a price to pay.
Yeah. And from that time on in his life, he had no life except for the tribe. And that's when he won that great battle at the Little Bighorn, the Greasy Grass. Crazy Horse, two preachers, Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. They were not warriors, they were preachers. But they could fight when they needed to. And they did.
But they weren't leaders of the
They
tribe.
were leaders because they were shirt men.
But people respected them because of their characteristics.
Because
and how
of their
they carried
character.
themselves.
Absolutely. Their character. They were the best. They were the best that was produced. They were the best. They could trust them with their souls, their lives, everything. Chiefs in the Indian, you hear about Indian princesses and Indian princes and all that stuff. When Europe came here, they tried to make chiefs princes. They call them princes. There is no prince among Indians. You're only a leader as long as you're a leader. And you could only lead those that would follow. You did not lead the ones that did. If they didn't want to go to battle, they didn't follow you. I mean, there was no draft. Only time when you were attacked, everybody fought. Okay? Let's go back now. Light. The light. Ha'or. The light. Because good. Tov. Ki tov. Remember that. Ki tov, because good. Tov is good. Bokatov. Bokatov. That's modern Hebrew. Bokatov. What does Bokatov mean? It means Boka. Comes from Boker, which means break a day. It says day good. Have a good day. Bokatov, have a good day. Okay? Have a good day. Tov, good. Because the light was good. And then it says here, why Yadel, why Yadel, it says, and he kept on dividing. He divided and kept on dividing. Elohim, Rivadol, Elohim, between Haor, the light, and between Yuvain, Hachashek. Hachashek. That's darkness. That's darkness. And I think why God made light and darkness is because we remember every day the sin that brought destruction to the universe. And that's when we're supposed to sleep. Darkness is for sleeping. But darkness in the world, in the spiritually evil world, what do they do out there at dark time, Brother Ray? When it gets dark, what happens among the gang world? And the gang. That's when you go out and get with it and steal and rob and kill.
You do everything they planned that night before.
Yes. You go out and bring into fruition the evil plans that you planned from the night before.
Yep.
When we're supposed to be sleeping, we're out there fooling around.
Yep.
There's a song, an old song that says that the Texans were always looked as bad people. Did you know that?
Texans what?
Texans were always looked as real bad people because they were scoundrels. Texans were. Texans. And the Chisholm Trail, how many of you have heard the Chisholm Trail? The Chisholm Trail.
I've heard of it. I can't remember what it was.
Jesse Chisholm. Jesse Chisholm was an Indian. Now we have him as a great big rancher, but the Indians were my family. The Pauls and the Chisholms were like that. Okay? They had many great big ranches. Well, Jesse Chisholm went out there with the Comanches and Apaches, and he made a treaty with them that they wouldn't attack the wagon trains. You see this on TV all the time, the wagon train and all this stuff, you know, rawhide and all of this. You see them, and a lot of times they're going on the Chisholm Trail. Now let me tell you the truth about the Chisholm Trail. That was a treaty between Indians. Now the Indians could hire a white man to be a cowboy, and a Mexican to be a cowboy, and an Indian to be a cowboy, but no Texans. No Texans. There used to be a song a long time ago in the Old West. While everybody else is sleeping, a Texican is planning and he's working up evil in his head. When everybody goes to bed, the Texans are doing that. And these are the people that were the scalp hunters. Did you watch that movie, Geronimo? And you saw those bad Texans in that movie? That's what they were noted for. Killing and murdering and stealing. Texans. All right. Night. Separate night between light and between choshek, darkness, scotia. And it's in the book of Jude, they call it sophon scotia. And Peter in his writing says sophon scotia, thick darkness, spiritual darkness. Also, is there a difference between righteousness and wickedness? The world doesn't know that, do they? The world out there is making rules. We got the Supreme Court doing all kinds of stuff, don't we? Do we or not? The Supreme Court making judgments of what's good and what's bad. While we got queers marrying queers. You know, this is all right to them. But is it all right with God? Does He have to make another Sodom and Gomorrah? Does He have to do this again? He's made one stand one time ago. He gave a whole history of it in our Bible. You can read the book of Jasher and figure out what happened there, how bad they were.
Even Apostle Paul thought he was doing things in the name of God.
Yeah.
Before he got converted.
Yes, he did, because he was wicked, wasn't he? He was in darkness. He was in darkness. There's a song you sing, I was in darkness, now in the light. Whatever, amazing grace, you know. I was lost, but now I'm found. Paul said that in Ephesians, the first chapter. We all walked in darkness. We all walked in darkness. Let's go. Vayikra. 1 and 5. Elohim. Laor. Yom. Walo Cheshik. Kara. Layala. Wahi. Nireh. Wahi. Goker. Yom. Ehad. And it says, and he kept on calling, third person masculine and singular, while consecutive and perfect, and he kept on calling Elohim. To light. Now it's to light. To light. To light. It's Leor. Okay, we had Baor before. Okay. In light. Now we have Leor, that prepositional front, that Lameth is a preposition. Okay, that Lameth. Leor, to light, Yom. Now, we have a lot of Jewish people today that talk about this word Yom. 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 Okay? Yom. The word Yom. Now, have you heard somebody ask you, Vincent, how long was a day is in the Bible? And they'll say, well, one day is 1,000 years. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and people are trying to say that those days were not 24 hours. Okay? They're 24 hours. Yom is only 24 hours. Yom is 24 hours. That's Yom. That's day. And he called to the light day, and to darkness he had called night. Layla. Lila. Have you ever heard of the name Lila?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Lila. Lila means darkness. That's what Lila means. Lila, darkness. Lila.
Lila.
Lila. Lila. Lila, darkness. Lila. Wahi. And he kept on being evening, Erev, and became morning. Boker. Boker means to break. To break the darkness. Now, a cow is called a boker. Why is a cow called a boker? And a goat not called a boker? What, Sharon?
Because a cow can, or an ox can drag a plow,
Okay.
and that will break the ground.
To break the ground. An ox or a cow can, and remember, how many of you have gone and look at the wagon trails? Those oxen used to drag those wagons, those deep ruts. If you could go them up there by Salt Lake, and you could come down through there, you could see that trail, that old trail coming out to California and Oregon. The Oregon Trail and the California Trail. Oxen were carrying them. Oxen were big, weren't they? Oxens, what else in the Bible could pull a plow? A donkey, a horse, all of these. These are big animals that can pull a plow, but a goat usually can't. You hook a goat up to a little bitty cart or something like that, but not efficiently. Okay. Boker, the break of day, and day one, and it became day one. The first day, the first 24-hour period in the Bible. Okay? Now God is taking the darkness that had become, and the earth, she had become formless, and darkness was over the face of the earth. Now God's going to divide the darkness, but He's going to leave the darkness there so we can see that sin is still in our lives and that we need a God every day to make the sun come up. The Indians used to go out there when the sun came up on a cold, cold morning, 10 below zero, and just take their shirts off and wait for the sun's rays and remember the God that created the sun. The Indians didn't worship the sun. They worshipped the God that created it, the Creator that made it. When we feel the heat of the sun, we only feel a little bit of the power of God. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Every time that matter is changed. Carol, do you have a gas stove in here?
No.
Is it electric stove?
Propane.
Propane. Okay, propane. That's a type of gas.
Yeah.
Okay, propane. Now, you can turn that gas on and you strike a match to it, or it has a lighter or igniter in it, and what do you feel? You feel heat. That's heat. That's energy, isn't it? So we're changing some form of matter into energy. And that matter is light, isn't it? It puts out light. Puts out light. All right, now we have a day, and He called darkness night, and He called the light day. And darkness and light, both of them added together. In the Hebrew mind, when does day begin? When does the day begin?
Sunset.
Sunset. Day begins in darkness, doesn't it? Why does day begin in darkness? You ever think? Why does day begin in darkness? And it ends in darkness, doesn't it? It begins in darkness and ends in darkness. We need to remember why we are the way we are. That it takes God to make light. They didn't wake up in the day like we do. They went to sleep. The first part of their day was rest.
Unless you live in Alaska, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, that's different. Yeah, that's every day is all day in the summer. All right, 24-hour days almost. It never really sets. Let's go on a little bit further now. Getting a lot of little history in here. 1 and 6. Wyomer, Elohim, Yehi, Raki, Bitork, Hamayim, Wahi, Mavdil, Bayin, Mayim, Lamayim. And he said and kept on saying Elohim. Look at that word, and he said and kept on saying. That's third person singular masculine. God is masculine, okay? He's not a girl. He's a guy. He's our God. He's our creator. Third person masculine singular, Calwell consecutive and perfect. Elohim. Let become. Let become for itself. Also, that's usage. There's kohortiv and jusiv in Hebrew, which means it's of volition. Okay? And Elohim said, let become for itself. It's going to begun. It was this way before. But let it become for itself again. Let it happen again. Okay? Rakia. A division, a breathing space. Okay? Now here's the earth. And here is the universe out there. And above the universe here is waters. Okay? Now the earth originally was water and water. Water's below and the water's above. This is not the earth as it is today. There's the earth that was here, the earth that is, and the earth that shall become. Okay? Things, and people, one night I taught for 3 hours on the radio, this very thing. They got out there and said, Dr. Jim, that's what they call me, Dr. Jim, tell us about, hey, is the earth always been like it is today? I said, no. Oh. So I told them the earth that was and how she had become. And now God is going to reconstruct the earth now, isn't he? Right. He's going to make it a little bit like it was before. Were there trees in the original creation before Genesis 1 and 1? Or in Genesis 1 and 1? Yes, there were trees. There was vegetation. There was animal life, okay? And it was all created good, and then it became destroyed. And God, in His permissive will and His unpreventable progress, allowed Satan to destroy that. And through that destruction, we have oil and fossil fuel today, which is drawing everybody back to the Middle East, isn't it? Right. In a lot of ways. That's what's causing a lot of trouble. How do all the Arab armies, all the Islamic armies, how are they supported?
Oil.
By Satan's mischief. Yeah, by Satan's mischief. When everybody's out down sleeping, them Texicans have got mischief in their head.
So the Taliban, the Texans,
Yeah, that Texicans.
Texicans?
Yeah. That's what the psalm says anyway. Anyway, here's the earth. It's earth. It's Aretz. Aretz. It's Aretz. And it is water. Mayim. Mayim. Mayim is water. Hashemayim. That means the uplifted water. So here we have the waters that's on the earth, and we have the dry land that's on the earth. And if you ask a scientist and a geologist, he'll tell you at one time the earth was all earth on one side and water on the other side, and you can take a globe and you can see this. Okay? You can see this. It's really there. It really happened. God created the earth. Godwana or Pangea. And now we're talking about Pangea Earth. This is the original. This is when God reconstructed the earth. Not the original earth, but when God reconstructed. Now, Marilyn and I, we travel from here to Fish Lake Valley, and we see a lot of catastrophic wonders out there, don't we? I don't know when some of that happened. Maybe it was when God, in Genesis 1 and 2, when Satan destroyed the earth, or maybe it was when God divided the continents. I don't know. There's still magma down on the earth. There's really magma down on the earth. All right, magma. I listened to a guy on the radio here a while back. Marilyn, you remember this. The guy got out there and said, everybody's lying to everybody. The earth is really flat. NASA is lying. The Bible doesn't say the earth is flat. Catholicism did it, and Muhammad says it's flat. He said there's 7 flat earths. Now, there aren't any flat earths. Muhammad said the earth was flat, and the reason why God made mountains is to keep it from blowing away. That's paperweights on the sand when the wind would blow. He put these paperweights down to hold the corners. And he also said that the sun set in a muddy pond. That's what he said. That's what Muhammad said. The earth set in a muddy pond. Out there in a muddy pond. Because that's what he thought. He only knew that Arabian continent, and the earth went down. He thought it was set in a muddy pond. Now, these are not scientific facts, but do you know that Islam believes that today? You know that Islam has killed people for people saying that the earth is not flat.
You're opposing their God.
They're opposing the creation. Any Muslim you talk to, he's going to say, "Oh, you read the Bible. Well, the Bible's corrupted. The Bible's corrupted. The Bible's corrupted. It's been corrupted. The corruption of the Bible is called the Quran. And the corruption of the Bible is called the Hadiths, and the Ahadiths, and the Sunnahs. That's the corruption of the Bible. The Bible does not make any weird, unscientific facts. Yesterday we studied about circumcision, how the circumcision is good for you. Okay? It's good for a man. It's good for the wife also. Because they say that a circumcised man that has a wife, that she is less likely to have cervical cancer because of that. Why did God... And then we have people today trying to say that it's wrong to circumcise a child. You're mutilating your boys when you're circumcised. Why did God create man uncircumcised? So he could bring in the rite of circumcision. That's why. That's it. That's not hard to figure out from the biblical standpoint. Why? So that he could do this. Show us that. The earth, around the earth was a breathing space. This is what's created now, this breathing space. This breathing space. It says here, and became a mavdo, causing a divide. Okay? A breathing space. Rakia. This breathing space here, God said, let it become for itself. What happens in this breathing state? We have atmosphere. Atmosphere. That's oxygen in it. What produces oxygen on the earth? What produces oxygen? The plants produce oxygen. Okay? They produce oxygen. And here, and how long did people are going to live here under this creation? Men will live longer here than they ever will in any other time.
Yep.
In time. This was the ideal, the way man could live the longest, right here. He could live. And we have oxygen, producing plants. We have water. What does the water do? What does the oceans do? They purify the air and the earth. They're a purifier. It's what we call a natural air cleaner and purifier. You can buy those things for $300 or $400 now. Well, the ocean, you go to live by the ocean, you get more oxygen than any place else. When you go up high, where I live up there in Fish Lake Valley, you go up there in those high mountains. And I remember when I had carburetors When I used to take that old 66 Ford pickup there, you remember that 66 Ford pickup? I had to change the jets and the carburetor when I got up there in the high country.
Yeah, believe that.
Because there's hardly any oxygen up there.
Right.
Now it's cold, so oxygen is concentrated, but there's less of it. I used to take my 60 or 73 Jeep pickup up there, and I had a set of 52 jets that I run down here, and a set of 47 jets up there. When I got up there about 10,000 feet over old Robert's Ranch, I had to pull my hood up, go out there and pull the top of my carburetor, and unscrew those 52 jets and put 47s in it because of the oxygen. Now that's a fact, and we see that.
Well, our propane tank and the
Yeah.
generator,
Yeah.
the guy screwed up. They were supposed to recalibrate that thing
Mm-hmm.
because of the height.
Yes.
Well, it burned out.
Mm-hmm.
They had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
They said they should have calibrated that because you're on higher level
Yeah.
for propane.
How many of you ever heard of Aladdin lamps?
Latin lamp?
Aladdin lamps. Aladdin lamps. They had Aladdin thermoses. You saw, remember those Aladdin thermoses? Same company. Aladdin lamps came out with something. How about, have you ever heard of a Coleman lantern? A Coleman lantern's got what in it? A mantle. You know where they got the idea for the Coleman lantern? From the Aladdin lamps. Aladdin started building lamps about 1900. If you look at all the movies, all those old kerosene lamps and stuff in there usually are Aladdin lamps, and they didn't start until 1900. And the old cowboys, 1840s, 50s, and 60s, there weren't any, but they were round wick lamps. Aladdin lamps have got a round wick, and then it's got a clove on it. Now you go up in high altitude, and you have to have a taller chimney because there's not as much oxygen. It has to burn more, or else your eyes will just, it'll be raw gases coming out. It'll just run you out of the house. You got to have a taller chimney so it'll burn them all out. When you get up in the high country, when you have a wood-burning cook stove, you have to have a taller chimney to draw and to burn all of the oxygen, all of the fuel out of that car, or out of that stove. Waters between the waters. So here we have the waters on the earth, we have the breathing space, and now we have an ocean in the sky. Hashemayim means the uplifted waters. Say Hashemayim. It means the uplifted waters. That's literally what it was. The first heaven was the uplifted waters. That was the first barrier. That's the atmosphere, the first heaven. And the second heaven was what? No, the second heaven is the stars and the planets. And the third heaven is the abode of God. Okay. So now we got number 6. Let's go on a little bit more. Waters between the waters. Between this water and that water. Now, that's the way it was. There was oceans in the sky. An ocean, the earth was completely surrounded by a bubble of water. Now, how many of you ever played with bubbles? Like bubbles? What's your little niece's name?
Bella.
Bella. Bella got a bubble maker here a while back. Blowing bubbles. Now, did you ever think about that? Have you ever seen somebody blow bubbles and put something in the bubbles? Have you ever seen that? Yeah. They'll blow bubbles and spit something into the bubble. And you'll see it floating around there. It floats around there for a while, and then it goes pop. God kept this. A bubble machine blowing bubbles is like the earth was. It was completely surrounded by water, oceans in the sky. Now let's go to 1 and 7. Waya'as. Elohim. Et harikia. Wayabdel. Be'ayin. Ha'mayim. Asher. Mitachaf. Larikia. Yuvin. Hamayim. Asher. Mial. Larakia. Waikiki. Waikiki. All right. I don't know whether you learn much Hebrew in this, but are you learning what it means?
Well,
A little. Yeah. Okay. And this one is third person masculine singular, cal, wow, consecutive, and perfect. Sharon, translate that Waya'as for me.
He made and kept on making.
He made and kept on making Elohim. Et, That's a sign of direct object. That just means forces going there. Extension, limitation of thought or verbal action is a grammatical rule. He kept on making a breathing space, an open space. And he calls to divide between the waters, which from upon the breathing space, and between the waters, which above the breathing space. And it came so. Why he came, and it became. It wasn't that way, was it? But now it becomes. It became. Why he? It became. It is a change from one state to another. Before, what was it? A total mass gob of mud and chaos. And now God is bringing order out of the chaos that he did not create. Okay? That he did not create. 1 and 8. 1 and verse 8. Vayikra Elohim Larakia Shemaim Wahi Erev Wahi Boker Yom Shani. And he called and kept on calling. Third person masculine singular, cal, wow, consecutive and perfect. Elohim. This breathing space, this interval surface. Heavens. That's Shamayim. It doesn't say the heavens, but Shamayim now. Shamayim means uplifted waters. Became evening, Erev, and became morning, Boker, Yom Shani. Shani. Remember what, Sharon, remember what Shani means? A divide. He divided it. So we have 1 day, now we have 2 days. And how long is this period of time, Vincent?
24 hours.
24 hours. 24 hours. So now we have 48 hours, don't we? It's not 48 million years. I saw one rabbi showing how that God that created something. This was 150 billion years and billion years over here, and that's what God did in that day. And then in the next day, this is what he created over here in this billions of years. And he kept showing all of this, what we call the evolution of the species. But he did say, oh, they became very sharp. These fossil forms became and changed very sharp. This was that partition, and this is that. Well, yes, that did happen. God did that instantly. Period. Okay? But what we have in eternity past, or what took place over there, and there's a lot of fossil record of that, and how long did that last? Who knows? I don't know how long that took place. 1 and 8. So now we have Yom Shani, Yom 2. There's more than 1 day now. We've got 2 days, days 2. Let's do one more verse, 1 and verse 9. Wayomer Elohim Yakewi Hamayim Meshaseth Hashemayim El Makom Ehad Watarek Ha-Basha. Why he came. And he said and kept on saying, Elohim, shall be gathered the waters from under the heavens. Now, actually, before this moment, the waters were all over the earth. There was no earth. It was nothing but a mud ball. Now God is going to divide it, and he's going to make land, and he's going to make waters. This is actually when he did this. All right? This is when this takes place. And shall be gathered, Wayikra, collected, herded, from under the heavens unto a standing place. Look at that one. Makom, a standing place. What is that standing place? It said standing place, Ihad, one standing place. The waters are going to go in one place. Now we say that the earth is about 70% water and 30% land or something like that. So God is going to make the waters go over there. He's going to cause them to be gathered. All right? 1 And she shall be seen the dry land. She shall be seen the dry land, and became thus. Why he came and became thus. Now the waters are going to be divided from the earth, and now they're going to see the dry land. So now we got up to here is the abode of God. God looks down, and he takes the earth that's been the whole universe around us, and the earth, so many little planets from the sun. He takes that, and he puts some uplifted waters around here, Hashemayim. Then he causes that this mud ball that it was, he's going to divide the waters from the Aretz, from the dry land. Waters from the dry land. So you see that's creation. That's when God, this is reconstruction of the earth. The reconstruction of the earth. And I really appreciate Brother Pena the other day. When we were talking about this, he said that's what it says. It's different words which we will see. All right. Do you have any questions on this? We went from 1:4 to 9. 1:4 to 9. 11:30:16. This is our last one. It's going to be. Tomorrow is December. Boy, things are flying away here. Tomorrow is December. Any question? Vincent, you have any questions? This is making it very plain, isn't it? Isn't it? When you look at it like this, it's plain. There, Marilyn?
No, I'm just scratching my
Interrogato, Leo? No.
Sometimes you have to take a little piece at a time and try to understand it.
Yeah.
Try to get the whole picture.
Yeah.
It can confuse you.
Yeah. This is we're taking one piece at a time. How God reconstructed the earth. It was perfect. It was in a state of perfection. Then it became in chaos and nothing but a mud ball. And then God divided the earth from the waters. Yes.
Do you think it was just the Earth that was destroyed, or could it have actually been a lot of stuff in our solar system? That's why we have, all the asteroid belt. That looks like something blew up. And they say that Mars had water at one time, but it doesn't now. Maybe the destruction was actually in the whole solar system.
I've said that many times, that I think maybe that more than just the planet Earth was affected.
Because you just look at stuff and you say that.
Now we can look out there and see what maybe happened. I'm not saying Mars was inhabited.
Yeah.
But
they used to have.
There used to be. We know that the universe has changed. It's not in the final state that it became in. Something happened to the whole universe. What is an asteroid? Do things still collide?
Right.
But in God's order, they weren't colliding.
Nothing was falling out of its place.
Yeah, it was in place.
Right.
Now things are still out of place, aren't they?
Yep.
But all things are being brought back into place by the works of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. You start studying science. Science and the Bible agree. The scientists today, so many of them want the Bible to disagree. And of course the Catholics, they fought Galileo. He said the earth is not the center of the universe. It's the sun, the center of our little solar system. Oh, they said no. Take it back, the earth's flat. The earth is flat. And there we have. And of course, when the Catholic Church believed all that, guess who arose his head in 570 A.D.? Muhammad. That's why he believed in 7 flat earths. And the mountains that hold it down so it won't blow away.
But in an earthquake, the mountains move rather than it goes up whole earth.
Yeah. But let's study what the Bible really says.
Because now we have pictures of the earth.
Yes,
and it's
from outer space.
Round
and unless you talk to a Muslim or to that guy I was talking to.
They deny those things?
They deny those things, yes, they deny it. I've heard many preachers when we went to the moon, preachers denied that we could go to the moon. We look back to the earth. That was the earth. You can go, I have seen the curvature of the earth. I've been up high enough in an airplane to see the curvature of the earth. The earth is not flat. Not flat. In spite of what Catholicism said, or what
Kansas is.
NASA's lying to us.
Kansas
I
is
mean,
real
you
bad.
see, these people are willfully ignorant. And that's why, you know why people are agnostics? Because Christians haven't done their jobs.
I was going to say, yeah. What you
The
said.
churches haven't done their jobs.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do here, is to give people a foundation where you don't go astray from the Bible. You become a firm believer. I said Sunday morning, you know, how do you grow? By sinning and going astray and seeing God pull you back and seeing God pull you back. And that's what makes you what? Trust God more. You trust God more because He's always there. I was looking at all of those little things you wrote down there. God is patient. God is love. God is tender. God is joyful. And God is
Brave.
brave. He's got to be very brave to be our God, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Huh. That's beautiful. That's
Those are the
beautiful.
pastors in some of his churches.
Yeah. Pastors have to be real brave sometimes. I've seen some rough churches. Some rough churches. Run them through the ringer. Real hard. All right. Nothing else. Let's go out and do something eternal. Brother Vincent, you want to give us a invitation out here? Some, maybe somebody out there, someplace in the world.
272.
If you want to give your life to God, if you want to bring Him into your life and repent of your sins and call upon Him and save you, can do it tonight or tomorrow, wherever it is, or wherever this thing goes all over the world. If you want to surrender your life to God and serve Him in one of these churches, do that today. Follow the Lord. Go ahead, brother.
Rock of ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side was flowed. Be of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure.
Thank you. Go out and do something eternal. You will anyway. Everything, yes.
We have the Lord's Supper Sunday and next Wednesday the business meeting.
You have the Lord's Supper Sunday.
This Sunday.
This Sunday. All right. All right. And the business meeting is Wednesday. Oh, okay. Anything else? Vincent, you want to dismiss us in prayer?
Dear and Father, Lord, thank you for this opportunity that we come together. Give us an opportunity to learn about you, Lord, and understand the things